Benzi, a renowned Japanese Zen master and psychic, sat in his temple in the mist-covered mountains of Kyoto, watching television as a news anchor reported a wave of bizarre incidents. Athletes, celebrities, and ordinary people were falling victim to an inexplicable madness, their eyes bloodshot and wild, displaying violent outbursts, speaking in guttural languages, and losing control of themselves. Benzi knew these were not the actions of sick minds, but signs of possession. The next morning, Benzi, dressed in his Zen robes, prepared for a journey to combat the spreading darkness. His destination was the home of Isabella, a tennis player who had fallen victim to this malevolent force. As Benzi traveled through Tokyo, he sensed the darkness had infected more than just the afflicted, it had seeped into the very fabric of the city. Upon arriving at Isabella's estate, her family greeted him, desperate for help. "Thank you for coming, Master Benzi," her father said, voice filled with emotion. "We fear we are losing her." Benzi was led to Isabella's room, where her gaunt, pale form sat on her bed, her eyes swirling with darkness. "Leave us," he said gently to her mother, preparing to face the ominous force controlling Isabella. Benzi, the Zen master, was left alone with Isabella after her parents reluctantly left the room. He approached her calmly, observing the tremors in her body as she fought an internal battle. Kneeling before her, he began chanting softly, using ancient words passed down through generations of Zen masters. But instead of relaxing, Isabella's body tensed, and she sneered, a guttural growl escaping her throat. As she convulsed and screamed, the darkness within her fought against Benzi's prayers. Benzi's voice remained steady as the demon inside Isabella spoke, "You cannot save her. She belongs to us now." Undeterred, Benzi placed his hand on her forehead, forcing the demon out. With one final push, the darkness lifted, and Isabella collapsed into his arms, her soul returning. As Isabella regained her strength, she asked, What was that?" Benzi explained, "A demon had taken hold of your soul." Isabella trembled, asking why this was happening. Benzi reassured her, explaining the darkness was spreading, seeking to use the vulnerable. "We must find its source," he said. Isabella, determined, asked how to fight it. Benzi advised her to rest and regain her strength. "The battle is far from over," he said, leaving her with words of encouragement. As Benzi left Isabella's estate, he felt the weight of the task ahead. The darkness that had taken hold of her was unlike anything he had faced before, cunning, powerful, and relentless. He knew that to stop it, he would have to confront the heart of the evil spreading across the world. Walking through the streets of Tokyo, he sensed the darkness creeping into the minds of the people, turning the city into shadows. Benzi knew time was running out but remained determined to fight. 2 days later, Isabella's family reached out to Benzi once more, their voices trembling with fear. Isabella's symptoms had returned, her eyes were bloodshot again, and her behavior had become erratic. Benzi responded without hesitation, sensing that the darkness had grown stronger and more insidious. Upon arriving at the estate, the atmosphere was thick with dread. The family, now filled with terror, led him to Isabella's room. "It's worse this time," her father whispered. Benzi nodded solemnly, his face resolute. "I will do everything in my power to help her." As he ascended the grand staircase, he felt the oppressive energy of the darkness, coiling like a serpent waiting for him. Benzi entered Isabella's room, where the air was thick with malevolent darkness. Isabella sat hunched in the center, her hands trembling, and her eyes glowed with a deep, red malice. "Isabella," Benzi called, his voice steady but resolute, knowing he was speaking to the darkness that had possessed her. Isabella's head snapped up, and she smiled wickedly. "You came back," she hissed. "Did you believe you could defeat me?" Benzi realized this was no mere demon but Bree, an ancient and powerful entity. "This world will collapse under my feet," Bree declared through Isabella's voice. Benzi took a deep breath, stepping closer to her, and gripped her arms. As his hands touched her skin, dark energy surged through him. He began to chant, "Namo Amitabha Buddha," in an attempt to force the spirit out. The darkness recoiled but retaliated with ferocity, nearly overwhelming him. "Who are you?" Benzi asked, struggling. I am Bree, it replied, mocking him. The dark energy began to invade Benzi's body, weakening him. His vision blurred, and red veins spread across his skin. He tried to resist, but faltered, feeling the darkness consume him. You are mine now, Celestial Master, Bree whispered as Benzi fell, his soul slipping away, consumed by the Force. Bree whispered cruelly, welcome to the fold. You will serve me well. With those words, Benzi's will was extinguished, and the darkness that had once plagued Isabella now consumed him. His body became a vessel for Bree, filled with malevolent intent. The once wise Zen Master Benzi was now a puppet for the demon. Isabella, now fully possessed by Bree, stood triumphantly over him, her eyes glowing with red malice. Come, my servant, Bree commanded. This world will fall, and you will be its instrument of destruction. Benzi, devoid of his former self, obeyed, rising with blank obedience. As they left the room, the family watched in confusion and dread. Isabella's father, trembling, asked, "Is everything all right?" Bree, speaking through Isabella, smiled sweetly but with a hollow expression. "Everything is as it should be," it replied. Benzi, now fully under Bree's control, said nothing. The family, unaware of the horror that had occurred, felt a chilling sense of wrongness as they watched the two leave. Outside, the night grew heavy with impending doom, and the first drops of rain began to fall. The darkness had claimed another soul, and it would not stop until it had consumed them all.